Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Veda Vipagine Vyoma Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Gukarastvandakaro vai Rukarastvannivartakaha Andhakara nirodhitvad Guruvitya vidhiyate. Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vaivasvataya Mrityave Brahma Vidyacharya Nachiketase cha. Page 6, verses 8 and 9, 8, 9 and 10. Atmanam Rathinam Viddhi Shariram Ratamevatu Buddhim tu Sarathim Viddhi Manah Pragrahamevacha Manah Pragrahamevacha. Right. Indriyani payan ahuhu Vishayam steshu gocharan Atmendriyamano yuktam Bhoktetyahur manishinaha. Yesterday someone was asking, in the 10th verse, in the second part of the first line, Vishayam, there is a half moon mark there, with an asterisk there, or with another stroke rather. So that stands for Anuswara, stands for Makara. The pronunciation of Anuswara is determined by the following letter. It is the nasal of the following letters class that will be the pronunciation of Anuswara. However, following letters doesn't belong to a class. So, ka, cha, ta, ta, pa, these classes are there. Each one of them has an Anuswara. So, the Anuswara will be pronounced accordingly. Shankara. Sham and Kara, but then Ka, the nasal is Ka, Kha, Ga, Ga, Yang. So Shankara. But here where following letter doesn't belong to a class, like sibilants, like semi-vowels, like aspirate her, then it is pronounced as ma. So hamsa, not hansa but hamsa. Although in regional language in India they call it hans, but then it's hamsa. Similarly, vishayam stays by the rule of sandhi becomes vishayam, and followed by sakara, which is a sibilant, therefore becomes the vishayagum stays gocharam. The makara is pronounced as gum. So ideally vishayagum stays gocharan, if we recite it in the Vedic way. We are simply Vishayam stage goes, that's what we said to simplify. But in Veda, wherever this Anuswar happens, as for example in the Purusha Sukta or any other Vedic mantra, then Saggastham. So if you remember this, in the Nakarmana, Napajya, Dhanena, so then Saggastham is Samstham. That's Makara is, and then further because that Sa is again conjoined, therefore it becomes Ga. And so Gum or Ga. So Vishya Gum Steshu, Vishya Gus Steshu Gocharam, etc. Just for your information, the chanting in the Veda. Since we are not reciting these verses in any intonation because we don't have them, so we are reciting the verses as the plain verses. And so we don't recite gum, etc. Vishayam steshu gocharam. So this morning we started a discussion as to how these passages give us a simile between, I'm going to compare our life with a journey. And in journey there is always a destination. That's called journey. Thus in life also there is a destination. Now depends on, so for this destination we have been given a vehicle called the chariot. And chariot has horses pulling the chariot. That is a charioteer or the driver, and he has those reins in his hands with which he controls the horses. So these are the essential elements of a chariot, and similar elements also obtain in our own personality. And therefore this mantra say that Shariram Rathamevatu, this body is as though a chariot in the place of a chariot. In the analogy, with Dimdusaratham Vidhi, a chariot should have a charioteer, a vehicle should have a driver. So here the charioteer or driver is Buddhi. Our intellect is in the place of a charioteer. So charioteer makes all the decisions. This morning we talked about a fork. Some people thought that it is this knife and fork, that you use. That not that fork. By fork we meant that fork, which when you go to an ENT and when you want to tuning fork, that's what that fork, which has two prongs. So when you come to a fork, then you have to make a choice because otherwise you can't proceed. So similarly, in our life, in every situation there is as though a fork, and therefore a choice is available and a choice has to be made. Our Swami used to say, there is no choice in making the choice. Meaning that we have to make the choice. And that is what makes the human life stressful. Because when you make a choice, then you are responsible for the choice that you make. It is that responsibility that creates stress. Because whether my choice will be right or wrong, whether it will be beneficial or otherwise, will be helpful or hurtful. So to the best of my understanding, I make a choice hoping that it will be helpful to me. But I know from my experiences there, very often I also made choices that have been hurtful to me, consequently therefore, before any choice, there is always this apprehension in my mind that maybe I shouldn't make a wrong choice. So this need to make a choice is a source of stress. In the stress management, when you talk about stress, the origin of stress comes here from the sense of responsibility. Because we are given a free will and freedom of choice, therefore we are also required to take the responsibility of choice that we make. Dogs and cats don't have to make a choice, therefore they don't have no stress in their life. In life of all other creatures, there is no stress because they have no responsibility. Not that you want to become them, but just to compare. So, the way we have to do is remaining human beings and enjoy the freedom of a dog. Then that's called achievement. Really. Make a choice and still have no stress. So this is what we are seeking to achieve. But anyway, so thus we have to make a choice. And what are the choices? As we said earlier, Shreyaha and Preyaha. Earlier was said, Shreyascha, Preyascha, Manushyametah. These two always appear before us. The Shreyas, that which brings about lasting good, and Preyas, that brings about immediate gratification. A choice of lasting good versus immediate gratification. The lasting good almost invariably requires me to let go the immediate gratification, then only lasting good can come. And therefore choosing the lasting good called Shreya involves a certain amount of letting go, a certain amount of self-restraint. Inasmuch as my mind would want to make a choice which gives immediate gratification, but I have to control the tendency of mind and make a choice that gives me a long-term happiness. So Lord Krishna says, Yat tadagre vishamiva pariname amrutopamam tassukam satvikam proktam atmabuddhi prasadayam. In the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna described three kinds of happiness. One is called the Satvikam Sukham, happiness arising from sattva, from purity of the mind, transparency of the mind, which is happiness of the self. Because when the mind becomes sattvic, pure or transparent, it reflects the self which is happiness. But Lord Krishna says, Yat tadagre vishamiva. To enjoy the happiness of myself, it is necessary that my mind has to be turned inward. And because extrovertedness is the usual tendency of the mind, an effort is required to turn the mind inward, which involves effort, which involves even exertion, because I have to let go. The temptations the mind has, I have to let go and I have to restrain the mind and make it inward. So this is effort that is required for experiencing the happiness of the self. Atma buddhi prasadajam. The happiness coming from the purity of the mind or happiness coming from the self. In the beginning it is bitter or painful, and therefore most people avoid that. People think that it is pain. Vishendriya sanyogat yatadagre amrutapamam pariname vishamiva tat sukham rajasam sukham. The Lord Krishna says the second kind of happiness is the happiness coming from rajas. Sattva, rajas and tamas. So what is that happiness which is the product of rajas? Happiness that comes by the experience of the pleasurable objects. Vishendriya sanyogat, with this sanyoga, association of my sense organ with the sense object, then there is supposedly happiness when I am enjoying something that is pleasurable, desirable. It also seems to give me happiness. Lord Krishna says, that which is sweet in the beginning, pariname vishame, but that which turns out bitter, this is the other kind of happiness. So that which tastes a little bitter in the beginning but turns out to be sweet is one kind of happiness called Shreya. Happiness coming from the self, the lasting happiness. Other kind of happiness that comes from the objects of pleasure, which in the beginning is looks sweet because it is easy, but which turns out to be bitter at the end. Yet tadagare. So, Yushendra Yoga, yet tadagare amrutopamam. In the beginning, it is like amrutam, like sweet. Pariname vishamiva. But at the end, it turns out to be bitter or like poison. So these two means of happiness are the self is one source of happiness, non-self other source of happiness. The happiness coming from the self is liberating happiness. Happiness coming from non-self is a binding happiness. Happiness coming from the self is real happiness. Coming from non-self is an apparent happiness, which is more like the appearance of happiness, not real happiness. They give the example of a dog which is biting on a bone, dry bone, and the dog keeps on biting. But that bone makes it hurts its mouth, and then a drops of blood coming from its own mouth, which is what the dog is tasting, and think that it is that is coming from the bone, whereas it's coming from its own self. Similarly, when we are enjoying rasagulla or some ice cream, something like that, I think happiness comes from there. It comes from me only. But that's a delusion. Meaning that happiness coming from non-self is only a delusion, because only consciousness can give rise to happiness. Unconscious cannot. However, so these two kinds of happiness is there, Shreyas and Preyas, path of freedom, path of bondage. Because the other kind of happiness coming from non-self is addicting happiness. I get addicted to that, attached to that, addicted to that, I cannot do without that. Luxury comes as a guest, lingers on to become host, stays on to enslave us. So how we find ourselves becoming slaves? A cell phone 10, 15 years ago, it was a luxury. It was, something that was a wonderful thing. Slowly, it lingered on to become the host, and now it has enslaved me. So I become a slave. I cannot do without that. Swami also, in first thing I wake up in the morning is just check my cell phone. Whether any messages are there, and his voicemail is there. I check my email. So now, if I forget my cell phone, or if there is no Wi-Fi here, I become restless and no Wi-Fi. So wherever I go, first thing I ask, do you have Wi-Fi? What's your password? A Swami asking for Wi-Fi, can you imagine that? You can't do without it. So this enslaved us. This is called slavery, and that is called bondage. Wherever there is dependence, that is called bondage, and that is called unhappiness. Thus there is a way of life where we are expanding the dependence and expanding the bondage and expanding the source of unhappiness. And there is a way of life where we are making us free from the bondage. These two ways of life are there, and one is a result of right choice, other is a result of wrong choice. What is the right choice? That comes from right understanding. Wrong choice comes from wrong understanding. What is the right understanding? Right understanding is that the seeker and sought are not different. So this morning we said how the Upanishads describe as though there are two selves. Both of them look alike. One is a self that is ignorant and flying from one branch to the other, experiencing variety of fruits, but the other self is just looking and blessing him. One is Jiva, other is Ishvara. as though one Atma is split into two. There are not two Atmas, one Atma as though split into two, seeker and sought. Can one be split into two? Is it possible that one can get split into two? Can you think of an example where one is split into two? The 10th man. The 10th man is searching for whom? 10th man is searching. So he is a searcher, he is a seeker, isn't it? And who is he searching for? To seek. How ignorance creates a split. How he splits one into two, seeker and sought. Both look alike, isn't it? The 10th man is searching for, and then for whom it is searched, both of them are one actually, but then as though there are two. How ignorance creates this separation between the seeker, it creates a duality of seeker, and this is called Dvaitam. This is the real duality. What's the real duality? That what I am seeking is different from me. And we are all born with this ignorance and therefore this conclusion that I am a seeker, that I am needy, and that what I want is something different from me, away from me, separated from me. What I am seeking in life is separated from me in time or place or in condition. If this is my understanding of life, then I will naturally make a choice of achieving what is unachieved. Thinking that what I want in life is unachieved and therefore my choices will be for achieving the unachieved. If my understanding is, if there is a viveka, that life is achievement of already achieved, what separates me from my goal is only ignorance. And there is no distance to be traveled in terms of space or time. If there is distance, there is that of ignorance, and that can only be eliminated by knowledge. If that is, then I will make that kind of a choice. One is a choice where ignorance is given up, other is a choice where ignorance is accumulated. So because when I think that what I am seeking is different from me, then there are two kinds of projections happen. One is I am projecting upon myself a sense of smallness, which we all have. That whereas the Atma is Ananda or happiness or fullness, I look upon myself as unhappy. Whereas limitlessness is my nature, I look upon myself as limited being. Whereas I am one non-dual, I look upon myself one among countless. This is the superimposition taking place upon the self. Where unhappiness is superimposed upon where there is happiness. And contrary-wise, I superimpose happiness upon the objects where happiness is not. So superimposing unhappiness upon self where it is not, and contrary-wise, superimposing happiness upon the world where it is not. But this is my understanding, that I am unhappy, I have to become happy, happiness is out there, and therefore I must acquire that, experience that, then only I can be happy. This is one view of life. And so choices that I will make, will always be for accomplishing what is not. I give reality to what is just it's a delusion that happiness is there, I give it reality. And so I am chasing something like the 10th man, all the time chasing for the 10th man. And sometimes looks like I found him, I saw him. Oh, here's the lemmy, the 10th man is right there. So it gives me hope. Then I go behind the hill. And I say, no, that's not the one. Oh, I saw somebody climbing up the tree. I do all kinds of places as such. Thinking that he'll be there, I'll find him. So there's one path which is of never ending.
Sorry.
The other way. Do it other
It's
way.
coming to on horizon.
Ah, that's good, good.
I have it.
Other way means it would be more effective if you turn it around.
Sunday, this is covered by the book. I'm fine. I can leave it any day if you want to. Better? It doesn't help. Leave it.
Okay, sorry about that.
It's okay.
So how the choices are made based on our understanding of life and wrong understanding of the self and non-self brings about all wrong choices. Even though I may be sincere, even though I may be a righteous person also, and still I keep on making wrong choices. I think that happiness is in heaven, and so I make choices so that I will go to heaven after the death. Happiness is name, fame, etc., etc., and I do things to achieve happiness which I think is there. To find ultimately that it is not that the 10th man, finding that what he thought was 10th man did not turn out to be 10th man, and he searches again. Amazing thing is that even though he keeps on being disappointed because he does not find 10th man, it never occurs to him that maybe my conclusion is wrong. That it never occurs. He is quite sad in his conclusion that I am not the 10th man. 10th man is lost, is out there, it is unaccomplished. How to accomplish him? How to find him? And accordingly keeps on making choices. Other person, you can call it Viveki, Dhiraha. Dhira means what? One who is intelligent, discriminating person, Viveki, who has discerned this thing in the life. That life is for accomplishing what is already accomplished. Meaning that ignorance is what is separating me from what I am seeking, and so it is the knowledge that's the solution. Therefore he wants to be an inward-looking person. He wants to turn his mind inward. We will see in subsequent passages. And so one is seeking antahara shuddhi, purification of mind, so mind becomes inward-looking. Then it comes to face with the self, then it experiences the self. So one is seeking to experience the self, other is seeking experience of non-self, and therefore these choices are made. And so it is buddhi that makes a choice. Intellect that makes a choice because it is a discriminating faculty, it is a choosing faculty. That is where the free will is there. And therefore the intellect is given the place of a charioteer, the driver. But the driver does not directly drive the horses. Through rein he controls the horses. In this case, the verse says, Manah pragraham evacha. Pragraham means rain, rashana, rain. That manas, mind. So our antahkaranam, what we call the inner faculty, which is called mind in English, is here looked upon as made up of two faculties, buddhi and manah. Sometimes antahkaranam is divided into four parts. Manah, buddhi, chittam, ahankara. But more often than not, it is subdivided into two, manah and buddhi. The emotional faculty, habitual faculty, impulsive faculty is called manah. And discriminating faculty, the learning faculty, the determining faculty, the judging faculty is called buddhi. So buddhi and manah. So, as we say, understand that we do not live intellectually, we always live habitually. Our intellect does not live the life, we live life according to our habits. It is manas that lives the life. I am as good as my mind, meaning as good as my manas. Even though I may have great ideas, great understanding in my intellect, what actually determines how I live my life is what is the maturity of my emotions. The emotional being is the one that lives the life. All experience are at the emotional level. All pleasure and pain are experienced at the emotional level. All attachments and aversions and all habits are at the emotional level. You can also call it the impulsive level, habitual level, reacting faculty, impulsive faculty, habitual faculty. So, this is one faculty. Other is thinking faculty, knowing faculty, judging faculty. That's what we call buddhi. So it is not enough that my understanding is right. It is necessary that my conduct also must be right. Now conduct takes place at the level of manas, at the level of habit. You follow? I live my life based on my habits. And therefore, even when I have the new understanding, that understanding becomes meaningful to me when I change my habit in keeping with that new understanding. I can give a great lecture as far as honesty is concerned, truthfulness is concerned, but then the way I behave is quite different. We find very often quite a difference between what people talk and the way what they walk, isn't it? Because walking is done by one faculty, talking is done by another faculty. Talking is done by the head, intellect. Walking is done by heart, the habit. And it is this fellow, the heart or the manas, in fact, that does everything. It is in contact with the world, meaning the one that receives all the stimuli from the organs of perception and experiences is manas. And then it passes on that data to buddhi. And then buddhi makes a decision based on the data that is passed on by the manas. If this fellow distorts something, that's all buddhi gets. And even though buddhi gives a command to this manas, this fellow will do what it wants to do. If there is an alignment between the manas and buddhi, head and heart, then there is a harmony within myself. But very often that alignment is not there. Even though now my blood reports have come, and so buddhi knows what my new diet should be. But the manas, which controls my behavior, controls my sense organs, when it sees that rasagulla, sees that sweet, then before even asking the buddhi, so very often we find ourselves doing it habitually. Put something in the mouth, then I realize I should not have taken that. But particularly when people are fasting, and then sometimes you forget that today, because every day you eat 7 times a day, When you're cooking, you put something here, eating. So if that is a habit, then fasting is not eating at all. No, this is so different. But habitually, because I have peanut size, I put it in my mouth. And then some sandwich again. So this is what I have been doing habitually. And even though today is a day for fast, which our intellect has decided, it is the mind that conducts the life. And if there is alertness, intellect tells the mind, hey, come on, today is Ekadashi or today is the fasting day. So you're not supposed to eat that. Then it's fine. Then also mind will decide what to do. You say, I'm not supposed to do, I'll do what I want to do. Like my teenager child will say, who are you to tell me? Similarly, my mind says to the intellect, who are you to tell me? I'll do what I want to do. Meaning that even though the intellect says that this is not right, sometimes we find ourselves doing it anyway. There is such an impulse to do something, an impulse to say something, and then he says, my mind, buddhi says, come on, keep quiet, it's not right for a Swami to be, but then that old habit will make me say things, make me do things. So we are basically habitual people, meaning the habitual faculty is what controls our behavior, not that knowing faculty. I have great ideas in my head, and I may be a great scholar and giving, wonderful talks and things like that. But in my private life, I can be quite a different kind of person. If you place a video camera in my room, then you will find out all the Swamis. When nobody is watching me, that is when my real self comes out. So this manas, this habitual faculty, which sometimes is, we call it impulsive because it just works on impulse. Sees something and puts it in the mouth. Sees something and, does, because of the habits are already built into the habitual patterns of behavior are built. And therefore, those patterns govern my behavior. And so the mind says, come on, mouth, do this. Come on, eyes, do this. Come on, hands, do this. Give him one. So this is, even the buddhi knows, and then later on I will regret. That means the buddhi regrets. The fellow did is different. And the person who regrets, the faculty that regrets is a different faculty. But I regret, this is the wrong thing I did. I was not alert. Alertness has to be in the buddhi. Not only alertness, but buddhi must have sufficient control over the mind, the habitual faculty. Then only the mind, then what I do is in keeping with what I think. However, now imagine a situation where there is an enemy. So who is the enemy? Arjuna asked this question. Who is my enemy? Who is that which compels me to commit sin? Compels me to go against my own values? When I regret later on, that means that I was not alert at that time and something else compelled me, forced me to act in a certain way. What is that thing? Kamesha, Krodesha. Lord Krishna says Kama, meaning craving, Krodha, meaning anger. So these are the impulses. In fact, they control this mind, and therefore it is because of the compulsion or impulsion of them that a person goes against his values. I have a value of being truthful, of being kind. That's my value when I'm in right mind. But then when you push my button, and some people have an uncanny knack of pushing button. They say something and I keep quiet. Say something more, I still keep quiet. Something more, I keep quiet. Something more, and then ultimately I blow up. And I do something that is not becoming of me. As our Swami used to say, this person comes before him and says, Swami, after listening to you, I have given up anger. Swami says, I don't think so. Teasing him. Only teasing him. No, Swami, I have given up anger. I think that nobody has provoked you, that's all. No, I'm telling you, I have given up anger. I would wonder, Swami, I have given up anger. I have given up anger, He's waiting right there. And soon before we realize, it takes hold of me, and so it is not the buddhi, it is this manas, that habitual faculty, impulsive faculty, which control the sense organs and my behavior. So this manah pragraham evacha, that manas is compared to pragraham, meaning the reins. So it is manas that controls the reins that control the horses. In the ordinary example, the rein is an unconscious thing, therefore the reins do what the charioteer tells it to do. In this case, rein has its own mind. Imagine. So charioteer says one thing and this fellow decides something else. Meaning that the intellect may say one thing because of its understanding, but the mind may as well decide to do something else with its own understanding. And thus there can be quite a split between my understanding and my behavior. My talking and my walking and my talking, etc. can be quite different. Atmanam Rathinam Viddhi. This chariot is provided for whom? Atmanam, may Atma means self. May you know the self that is the charioteer, the master of the chariot. You see, understand that is not the master that drives the vehicle. Who drives the vehicle? The driver. Who determines the destiny of the vehicle? The driver, not the master. Master is at the mercy of the driver, is it not so? Similarly, even though he is the master of the chariot called Rathi, means Ratha Swami, means the master of the chariot. He is riding the chariot, but its destiny is determined by what? Not by him, by these fellows, by the charioteer and by the reins and horses, etc. So Atmanam Rathinam Viddhi. What Atma is Upanishad talking about? So Upanishad itself explains in the second mantra that we read, second line of the 10th mantra, Atmendriya manoyuktam bhoktetyahur manishinaha. If you see the translation, Atmendriya manoyuktam, translation on page 7, top line. Jivatma, along with the body, sense organ, and the mind, is called the experiencer. So, actually, the primary meaning of the word Atma is the self or consciousness. But who is the charity? Jivatma. Who is Jivatma? Same consciousness identified with the body, mind, sense complex is called Jivatma. So, two birds are there. One is the Atma or the consciousness identified with the body, mind, sense complex, and therefore thinking of itself as small, limited, insignificant as this body, mind, sense complex. But there is the true nature of the Atma that is limitless. So Atma, Atmendriya Mano, Atma there means body, Indriya, Manaha. This complex of the body, sense organs, mind, intellect, the consciousness identified with that is called Karta, Bhokta. So this, yesterday the question was seeing the actionless in action. Is really knowing Atma or consciousness is actionless. Meaning there is no action, no experience, no kartrutva, no bhoktritva. Doership is always in the body, mind, sense complex. All doing is done at the level of organs of action. Speech is an organ of action, so speaking is done at the organ of action. Speaking is an action. Walking is an action. Doing things are the actions. All actions take place at the level of the organs of action. And all experiences take place at the level of organs of perception. All our experiences of the world are through the organs of perception. So world has these fivefold objects, Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. The sound, the touch, the sight, the taste, the smell. These are the fivefold objects of the world which we experience through the five corresponding organs of perception. So the setup is that we receive the stimuli which we receive through organs of perception and we give response to the organs of action. So these faculties are given to us to interact with the world. Problem is when I identify with them. As long as I realize that eyes are my instrument of seeing, when I become the eyes, then that's a problem. Eyes are not a problem. Identification of eye is a problem. Speech is not a problem. Identifying the speech, then I become speaker. When identifying the eyes, I become seer. So seer, hearer, thinker, this is called bhokta, experiencer. The speaker, the goer, is called karta, the doer. So this consciousness of the Atma, which by nature is free from the doership or enjoyership, on account of identifying with the body, mind, sense complex, becomes karta. Doesn't become, but thinks that I am karta, I am bhokta. Last night we demonstrated how The act of speaking takes place at the level of speech. That's what it is. Who am I? In my presence it happens. Like a king. All his attendants do things in the presence. King does not even have to tell anything. By his presence, everything takes place. That's called the true leader. Where those who are led does not realize that they are led. It's a true leader. And so if the king is real king, then all that is needed is in his presence, automatically things happen. For example, if sun, how in the presence of sun, everything automatically happens. Similarly, in the presence of self, everything happens. Just as in the presence of magnet, these iron filings move without any action part of magnet, so also in presence of self or consciousness, the organs of action do things, like the perception, they do their things, the mind does its things, intellect does, everything is enlivened and they do their functions. But unfortunately, this consciousness, I am doing it, becomes identified. Thus it becomes karta, bhokta. So who is the master of chariot? The Jivatma. Who is Jivatma? The Atma identified with the body, mind, sense complex is called Jivatma. Who thinks he is a karta, bhokta, a doer, experiencer, enjoyer, limited being. He is a fellow who is riding this chariot. That is you and I, Jivatma. The fate is decided not by him, decided by the driver. If driver makes the right choices, he is lucky. Driver makes the wrong choices, someday that chariot will fall in a ditch. Wrong choices. So this is what the Upanishad proceeds to elaborate. There's two choices, Shreyas and Preyas. Right choices and wrong choices. Choices leading to freedom and choices leading to bondage. Choices leading to happiness, choices leading to unhappiness. So understand that right choices create happiness for us and wrong choices create unhappiness for us. It is by our own choice that we either help ourselves or hurt ourselves. Although we like to believe that this fellow is responsible for my unhappiness. That fellow is, my mother is like that, and my father is like that, and my niece is like that, and my boss is like that, my spouse is like that. We like to feel that all sorrow or unhappiness comes from all these fellows. As Swami used to say, he asked one morning this fellow, hey, you look a little sad, what's the problem? Swami, I have not received a letter from my parents for 3 months. I'm sad. You look sad. Why are you sad? Swami, I received a letter this morning. You look sad. What's the problem? Swami, I cannot get married. You look scared. What's the problem? I am married. What's your problem? I don't have any children. What's your problem? I have children. Meaning they is taken for granted that the cause of my sorrow is always out there. But he says, here is a problem in which the solution is within the problem. There are two kinds of problems. Problems having solution outside the problem and problem having solution within the problem. What is within the problem? So, suppose there is an 8 number, 8. And it is split into some 12 different pieces. And you are given this task. Come on. Create 8 out of that. If you know how to do that, what is problem? Creating 8. Where is the solution? Within that itself. But if you don't know, then some one piece is left out, and then this is left out, and something doesn't match, and that also happens. Similarly, the problem of sorrow. Is it a problem with having solution outside of itself or inside itself? Inside itself is a solution. Meaning that not that problem of sadness is because of somebody else. I should not say it because of myself also. Ignorance is a basic problem, which gives to aviveka, which gives to wrong choices. And thus, by making wrong choices, I myself hurt myself. So thus this is, chariot is run both ways. Upanishad describes these two fellows. One is Vijnanavan, other is Avijnanavan. Vijnanavan, one is Vijnanam or Viveka or discrimination, who makes the right choices. What is the choice? The achievement of what is already achieved. The attainment of what is already attained. Meaning that I don't have to attain. The 10th man should know that he doesn't have to search for 10th man outside of himself. The solution of 10th man is within himself. Somebody is actually lost, solution is outside. But solution 10th man, where is the solution? Within himself. In that case, my choice is to invoke the tap happiness from myself. I become a contributor. So two choices are there, a contributor versus a consumer. A consumer versus a contributor. A grabber versus a giver. So two choices are there. But giving is a little painful. Contributing is painful. Helping somebody is painful because I have to sacrifice something of myself. I can't give you something unless I give up from myself. So that life of contributor, giver, somebody who serves, helps, it involves a certain amount of pain because I have to let go of something for which I have an attachment. Really, what we are required to give is attachment only. How do I give up attachment? By giving up this thing to which I am attached. I am attached to this thing, my pen. My pen. Swami, can I have your pen? I am sorry. Can I take it for just writing? Wait a minute. Let me, make sure that it comes back. I will keep on watching that fellow. So he would not pocket my pen. He does not forget to give me, So this pen, until it comes back to me, is in my mind. For half an hour I think of pen. It's called attachment. And if somebody asks for that pen, even if I give, with great reluctance I give. Because I have to separate from something that I love. And so, that is called giving up attachment. Attachment is not a thing, is not a tangible thing. Pen is a tangible thing, to which attachment is intangible thing. But to give up intangible attachment, I have to give up tangible things, understand? I must give tangible time, tangible some resources that I have. It may be not only, it may be time also. They say time, talent and treasure, isn't it? That's what they use, the expression. Time, talent and treasure. So one of these things, I have to give up. And there are always other things to do. I always have other use of the time for myself. In order to use time for yourself, there is a certain degree of reluctance, some resistance from within, and I must overcome that resistance and give that time, give that talent, give that treasure. Time, talent and treasure. Giving requires parting with it, and parting is always difficult because I always have some use for it myself. Meaning that I should deprive myself of something in order to extend it to someone else. Otherwise there is no giving. I have $1 million, I give $5, $10, $50, $100, then nothing happens. That is no giving. Swami used to say that it is called giving when it pinches you. That's called giving. And that kind of giving may help us grow. Otherwise, we pass on some little thing here and there, and we don't feel the loss at all. In that case, that giving doesn't help us grow. When there is a pinch, when there is a loss, when I could have used it for my purpose, which I have to sacrifice in order to help you to do that, that is called contribution. So being a contributor always involves some pain on account of attachment, on account of insecurity. I have to overcome that insecurity. overcome the resistance coming from attachment, then only I can contribute. So thus it's a path which involves pain in the beginning. But every act of contribution creates in me a satisfaction. So results into nectar. One kind of choices, one way of living life. And this way of living life, all the time I restrain and I have to give up my raga, dveshas, my attachments, and thus is a path of freedom from attachment. Freedom of likes and dislikes, path of freedom. The other one, I hold on to things. I give up importance to my attachment, my ego, my likes and dislikes. Others have no place in my life. What matters is I and mine, that's all. Nobody else has any place. That's also life. Except that the ego is like a fire. More I try to satisfy that, more demanding it becomes, more craving it becomes, and thus makes me more and more craving. Path of bondage. So Upanishad describes this too. How when a person makes the wrong choices, aviveka, but does not realize that the life should become a process of achieving what is already achieved. What separates me from my goal is ignorance. Ignorance which manifests in the form of ego, ahankara, mamakara, ownership, raga, attachment, dvesha, aversion, avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhinivesha. Called 5 kleshas by the Yoga Shastra or Sankhya. Ignorance, sense of ego, I, mine, likes, dislikes, and a strong attachment. That is what separates me from myself. And that is ignorance manifests in my life in this form of pride and arrogance and attachment and aversions. I have to give them up. But as I said, that giving up happens when I give up some tangible thing, then only those things go. Otherwise, mentally if I give up, that would go everything. I have given up my raga and dvesha. Mentally, I imagine that now I have given you my attachment. I have given you my pen. But that doesn't work. I have given you the pen. Where in my mind, that does not work. I have to give. Then only attachment. Then there is resistance from me. You don't give. It's yours. And still I do. Then overcome that resistance which comes from attachment. So that is life of self-growth. Other life is constantly creating conflicts. Because ego becomes more demanding. Raga dveshas become more virulent, stronger, creates more conflicts, brings all kinds of asuri sampat, or the demoniac tendencies within me. And thus, accumulating demoniac tendencies is one, accumulating divine tendencies is the other way of life. One is life of samsara, other is life of more liberation or moksha. So one is to live life, this is called living intelligently, meaning making right choices. What's the right choice? Choice based on the understanding that it should reflect the attainment of what is already attained. And what deprives me of that is my own likes and dislikes, my own ego, sense of ownership. These are the obstacles. An unintelligent person will keep on nourishing my ego, my sense of ownership, my attachment, aversion. So it's one way of life where I keep on nourishing them. Other way of life, I keep on getting rid of them. So, says Satadat Padamapnoti Yasmat Bhuyo na Jayate Samsaram Chadi Gacchati. One is goes round and round in samsara, the repeated lives of birth and death. Other one attains that pada, that goal from which there is no birth. The Upanishad beautifully describes this path of bondage, path of liberation, Shreya Preyas and Shreyas, Aviveka and Viveka. Culminates into the next verse, 11, we already discussed that. So we'll discuss it in the next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Veda Vibhagine Vyomavadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha.